Welcome to the Great on Purpose podcast. My name is Alfonzo Alexander and I am your host. In each episode of this podcast, you will have the opportunity to get to meet leaders from various backgrounds, various industries who are really just cool people doing great things on purpose. They are pursuing their purpose and pursuing greatness and walking in lockstep as they do it. You'll understand what we mean more about that as you get into the podcast. Our goal here is to help you understand that being great is not just something that happens. It is something that has to be done on purpose and in alignment with your purpose. Therefore, this is the Great on Purpose podcast. Enjoy.
Today's episode, Finding Purpose, features Alfonzo Alexander's conversation with Dr. Jason Brooks. For more than 25 years, Dr. Brooks has engaged with leaders and organizations across the country to bring transformational solutions. From startups to multi-billion-dollar organizations in a wide variety of industries, he helps change purpose-focused lives, grow high-impact leaders, and unleash the full potential of success-driven organizations. Dr. Brooks, CEO of LeaderTHRIVE, develops and delivers solutions to lead change, grow leaders, and create strategy. Take a listen.
All right. Hello, everyone. Alfonzo Alexander here. Glad to be with you today for Great on Purpose, the podcast that talks to you about how you can be great on purpose. You know, being great is something that many people pursue, but oftentimes it takes effort. That is outstanding effort and intentionality and planning and all of those things so that you can achieve greatness or at least be on the journey towards greatness. And we've got a guest today that I can tell you is one who is striving every day to be greater tomorrow than he is today. And that's a friend of mine, Dr. Jason Brooks. Jason, welcome to the program.
Alfonzo, thank you so much. It's great to be with you today.
Excellent. We're glad to have you. Really excited about this conversation that you and I are going to have because I have so much respect for the work that you do and that you've done over your career. I want to make sure, though, that people understand a little bit about who you are. So would you tell everybody that's listening today a little bit about you? They'll see your bio if they click on the link, but what's something about you that's not on the bio that would be interesting to people?
Oh my goodness. You know, probably my least publicized claim to fame is that I sang on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You didn't even know that, did you?
I did not. You have to tell me about this experience.
So as wonderful as it sounds, in full disclosure, I didn't have my own set while I was up there. My very, very first job out of college was working for Opryland theme park at the time. And I did all of the seasonal recruiting. And part of their orientation was they took folks up onto the stage of the Grand Ole Opry. And there is a round section of wood that they took from the original Ryman Auditorium. And we stood on that round circle of wood from the Ryman Auditorium and we sang Happy Birthday. So here's the great thing, Alfonso, in true honesty and openness, I sang on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry.
You sure did. Were you on key?
You know, I hung in there, buddy.
Okay, good.
Nobody ran out of the room, so I take that as a positive.
There you go. Oh man, that had to be fun and entertaining and great way to do some orientation. So, and glad you shared that story with us because I know you are doing some amazing things now and have done some things since you come from singing on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry. Tell us, what's exciting and going on in your life right now.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you asking. And probably the thing that I am most excited about is I'm making a move into pursuing just my life's dream and passion of consulting. So actually 2 weeks ago, I left the organization that I currently work full-time with know that I was going to be moving away from full-time employment and pursuing that dream. So LeaderTHRIVE is the name of my consulting practice, and as the name says, just really helping leaders to thrive. Core focus areas are on leading change and growing leaders and creating strategy and implementing that strategy. But in my free time, I am writing a new book, and my first book came out almost 10 years ago. So I think it's time to put pen to paper and bring a new idea to the world in the area of leadership. I've got a podcast that I do called LeaderTHRIVE Podcast, and just love speaking. So for me, man, it's about how do I bring my purpose and my best every single day in a variety of things that touch lives and grow leaders.
I love it. I love it. Outstanding. And that's why I thought you would be a great guest here, because of the passion that you and I both have for growing leaders. And
that's right.
I know we're in sync on so many things in terms of what we think and how important it is for leaders to grow. So let's let everybody else know kind of how we know each other and a little history about our relationship.
Yeah. I love that question, because I was thinking back on when we first met. I think it was about 12 years ago. You were working at NASBA, and you had the need that you wanted to invest in your leaders. And I came in and led a half-day session on Myers-Briggs on helping folks to understand themselves so they can better understand others. And the great thing is you let me stay there for the full 4 hours, and you didn't kick me out of the room, which I was very appreciative of. And you and I just started to form a great friendship. Like you said, we recognized we had similar interests and similar passions on really pouring into folks. And then several years later, I actually got a call from you. I remember you were leading a session for youth up in Newport News, and asked me to come up and speak to that at the Center of Public Trust. So again, you and I have just continued to build those relationships, and man, one of the things that I know is the power of connection and in nurturing those great relationships. And I've always counted you as one of those treasured gifts in my life. Well, that's mutual, my friend. I appreciate it. You left out, in between those things, we had some great lunch conversations. We did from time to time. And that's always good. I believe in the concept of iron sharpening iron. That's right. From a spiritual standpoint, from a professional development standpoint. And I know that our relationship has been valuable for me in that regard, as we both pursue, how we can be great. And in our cases, how we can help make others great. That's right. So again, I appreciate you being here. Thanks for sharing that with us. Let's talk about leadership and your passion for developing leaders. Question I wanted to ask you, to what do you attribute your personal growth as a leader? When I think about my growth as a leader, I have to look in the totality of my life, and I'm not going to go all the way back to that cold day in November when I was born. But what I will say is where things started to really crystallize for me is when I did the hard work of really identifying my purpose. Why am I here? Yeah. And having that crystallized in my mind. And really, Alfonso, for me, it boils down to I change lives and I grow leaders. And the cool thing for me in growing as a leader is keeping center focus on that. I'm just relentless about making that the top priority in my life, and then developing plans around that, how I'm going to live that out every single day. That helps me to continue to sharpen my saw and get even better as I'm living that out. But as much as I know my purpose and I develop my plans, I'm flexible in my steps and what that calling is. So for example, 2 years ago, I joined a $2.4 billion healthcare company.
Mm-hmm.
It stretched my leadership in new ways.
Sure.
I was able to grow through that, but that season is now ending and I'm able to move over into something else. So I think there's a big difference between your purpose and your calling. Our purpose is resolute. Our calling can shift based on season and circumstance and where we're led. But regardless of that, the purpose, the plans, the steps that we're taking, I go back to what has probably been the most pivotal piece in my growth as a leader is being intentional every single day. And you made that comment earlier on about intentionality. And for me, that is probably the most important thing. We can get pulled in so many different directions and the busyness of the world is pressing in around us all the time. But brother, when we can stay focused and intentional every moment of every day, I think for me, that's where I've seen my growth as a leader really, really exponentially explode.
Yeah, I think that's outstanding. Two things. I am so glad that you really emphasize purpose, because that's part of the reason why this podcast is named what it is, because purpose is so important to that. And I don't think that you can actually achieve greatness unless you're walking within your purpose.
Absolutely.
And to your point about purpose and calling, it is very, very, very important for people to know that you can achieve your purpose or be working within your purpose, and your calling can shift multiple times. Your purpose today may be to be in Nashville, Tennessee, working with this particular group, and you're working within your purpose there. But that doesn't mean that 3 years from now, you won't be in some other place doing the same thing or something similar as you have matured and gone through the process, man. So that is outstanding. Jason, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. The other thing, I just think that so many leaders feel like that they get off track because they tie so much their purpose to their vocation or their occupation. And that becomes the defining factor for them. And that's why, for me, I think that aspect of calling is so critical. It almost gives a breath of fresh air to folks that say, you know what, it's not final or fatal. The career decision that I make, that could change. I could be moved from one place to another, but that purpose always endures.
I love it. I love it. I couldn't agree with you more. Tell me about this. What do you consider to be your secret to success? Or maybe it's secrets. Maybe you have multiple ones.
I'm still trying to figure out if I really have success or not. No, I know I do, because I know I'm making an impact every day. And, Alfonso, I think for me, what I have discovered through looking at my life and kind of reflecting back, but also thinking forward, the secrets to success for me, I think boil down to three things. And I call these the tenets of my life.
Sure.
So these are kind of the three core truths that I've discovered and I hold on to. The first secret is to live confidently.
Great.
And for me, this is being present in the moment, being engaged in the day, bringing my absolute best to everything that I do, striving for excellence, removing things that would be distractions, but keeping it simple. So really, really being present in the moment again, and bringing that confidence in everything I do. The second thing is to lead courageously. And for me, leading courageously is leading myself courageously, but also leading others courageously. And this is more looking into the future. So how am I bringing folks around? How am I empowering? How am I investing in? How am I helping them to be their best? Because I know when I do that, my success is able to grow. And then the third is love completely. And I think that oftentimes we miss the relationship side of the power of our impact. You know, we have relationships with a couple of close friends and maybe with our family, but as leaders, we have got to love the people that we lead. And that isn't necessarily an emotional attraction, but it's how we pour into, how we engage with them, how we connect with them, how we build those relationships. So again, secrets to success, when I look back on my life, it's to live confidently, lead courageously, and love completely.
Hey man, I don't know if that's the focus of your new book, but if it's not, you got book number 3 laid out right there. So
you know, it's amazing that you said that. You know, more to come, my friend, more to come.
So, you know, part of what we want to do is help people understand the importance of purpose, help them understand how you have to focus, how you have to be intentional about where you want to be. And success is a journey. Greatness is a journey. But I want to make sure that when I have an opportunity to talk with people like you, who are accomplished in what you do, who have had success, who continue to grow and continue to have and expand in that success, I want people to understand some things that you know to be right in terms of the path. And so with that, I'm very curious as to if you were talking to a young professional who has desire to grow, to be successful, to be great, and you want to tell them, here's how you can be great on purpose, what advice would you give those individuals?
I think some of the best advice that I've received, that I've applied to my life, but I've also learned this myself, is to just take one more step. And here's what I mean by that. I think that we can, especially high achievers, high drivers, big dreamers, they're thinking way down the road. You know, they're thinking, you know, this multi-million-dollar consulting firm that I'm going to build, you know, over the next 3 years. They're thinking, I mean, you know, whatever, fill in the blank, you know, whatever measures of success you use, you know, relationships, bank account, you know, health, you know, prestige, prominent, you know, whatever that is. Here's what I found. The seasons where I got stuck oftentimes came from when I was looking too far down the road. And I was seeing myself today not able to achieve what I wanted in the future, so I gave up. And I think the biggest thing is that if we're living on purpose, if we are growing, that growth happens every single day. And it happens with one step after another, after another, after another. You know, I think about it in the context of if you're looking out over a field on a beautiful fall morning in Tennessee and the fog is down over the field and you can't see more than 10 yards in front of you, but you can see that next step. And you may not necessarily know what's way out ahead, but you know where you can firmly plant your foot in that next step to take. So I think, you know, if I were sharing with folks, dream it, absolutely, but don't get so caught in the dream that you miss the step to take today and being present in the moment. Dream it, but then do it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. It reminds me of two things that I want to share. One is, the strategic planner in me says that, it's great to have these large strategic goals and the big vision, right? And you have to have that so you know where the finish line is, where you're trying to go, and those big strategic goals get you there. But if you don't back those up with some tactical steps and some tactical goals that say, here are the things that we got to get done by this particular time, you have to have those in place and focus on those. And if you've aligned those properly, then they will help you get to the big strategy, the big strategic goal, which will get you to your vision. The other thing it reminds me of is every now and then I get into these modes where I exercise and I train for some type of activity, whether it be a 5K or a half marathon or whatever it is. And part of what I try to do in that regard is I try to go a little bit further or reduce my time a little bit more today than I did yesterday. And when I hear you say, focus on the next step, that's what I think about. Is I'm not trying to get to where I can do the whole 5K today. What I'm trying to do is a little bit more than I did yesterday, so that when the day of the race comes, I'm prepared. So that's awesome. Really, really thank you for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that.
Jason, as you mentioned earlier, you and I have known each other for a while, known each other, 10 plus years. And one thing you may remember about me is I always want to know what I can do to help you. So that's my next question. How can I help you?
You are amazing. I think the biggest thing, brother, is you're doing it now. I think you're rekindling our relationship, having this conversation, as I am getting ready to take the next step into my next calling in LeaderTHRIVE and really focusing on helping leaders and organizations in different ways. Just be thinking about who I am, the value I bring, and folks that you may come in contact with that could value from knowing me, and make that introduction. I think that's the biggest thing. And let's always continue to keep options open for how God may lead us in the future to do even more exciting things together.
Well, consider that done. I've got 2 companies that I want to introduce you to before the month's out. So consider that done.
That's wonderful. I appreciate that, my friend. Yeah. And I'll try not to let you down.
Oh, I don't worry about that. Not with you. So if you had any closing comments, any nuggets, any thoughts that you would want to share with anyone out there listening, what would that be?
Alfonso, I think what comes to mind for me is, for everyone listening to this podcast, you have a purpose. You are breathing today for a reason, and you are here for this season. But your purpose is your purpose alone. And I think the thing I would want everyone to remember is comparison is the thief of joy. So don't look to the person to your right or to your left to try to create a pathway that they're walking or to create a life that they're living. When you compare, you lose the focus on what your next step is and what your purpose is and your calling and the vision for your life. So it's natural to look at others and to gauge your accomplishments, your success, your impact, your growth, whatever, against others, but guard against that trap. Comparison is the thief of joy. Live your purpose with the greatest passion and intensity and focus that you can possibly bring. And I promise when you do that, your joy will just explode.
I love it. I love it. Comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. That's amazing. That is so true, because everybody's purpose is different.
That's right.
And if I watch you and see what you're doing, and I compare and use you as my barometer, not knowing what your purpose is or how you're intended to execute on that purpose, then I can get off track and be going down a path that may be following your path, but that may not be my path.
That's exactly right.
It's so imperative to pursue and understand your purpose, your own purpose. And then as you understand your own purpose, you start to pursue your purpose, then that helps you to get in alignment with why you are here. And that's where the real joy comes from. So if comparison is the enemy of joy, then alignment with your purpose and pursuing your purpose and walking within your purpose, I think is really the source of joy. And so that's amazing. I really appreciate you sharing that with us, Jason.
That's
also,
great.
man, I cannot thank you enough for being here and coming and sharing with us, sharing your wisdom, your nuggets. I will be thinking and praying with you as you grow this multi-million-dollar consulting business. And you too, remember me as you are going out and getting clients. And if there's anything that I can do that my talents might help you, then let's just work together. For those of you who don't know, I have the Alexander Success Group, which is a consulting firm where we do strategy, business development, leader development, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Dr. Brooks here is one of our team members. So whenever we have an opportunity that we can bring him in, we will do that. And we look forward to continuing to grow opportunities for that together. And partnership, I think, is one of the things that will help us be who we need to be and achieve our purpose in a much greater and faster way. So I appreciate you being here, Dave, today, Jason, and look forward to us being able to sit down and do this again.
Me too. Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you for the impact that you're making every day. 12 years ago, when you and I met, at that point, we would not have known that we would be sitting here today, but I'm thrilled that we are.
Yeah. I remember when we sat down and started talking for a moment. We had on similar shoes. We had on similar watches. We had similar friends. You and I had not met, but when our colleague who you had met before introduced us, there was a good connection immediately, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember that small conference room with a round table. I remember I walked in, I was like, you know what? This guy is really good looking. And I didn't know that it was because we looked the same, but but thank you for that. It's great being on this journey with you, my friend.
All right. Thank you. Look forward to talking with you again soon. And don't forget, I've got an opportunity or two that I think will be good for you.
That sounds great. We will be in touch for sure, my friend.
All right. Thank you. Take care now.
Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to the Great on Purpose podcast. I am Alfonzo Alexander. Please be sure to follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook so that you can continue to hear stories and get information that can help inspire you to be great on purpose.